Number one, the first speaker is David Inman. His speech title is Key to Greatness. Key to Greatness, David Inman.
Some people are born great. Some people have greatness thrust upon them, and that was meant to be in reverse order. Some people achieve greatness, and some people have greatness thrust upon them. This well-known quote, and many others throughout history, have titillated the minds of men and women throughout the ages. Contest chair and fellow Toastmasters, I happen to be one of those people. I, since I was young, have wanted to be great so bad. I have wanted to accomplish something worthwhile with my life. And to help with that goal, I've spent hours and hours and hours studying the lives of those who I felt have accomplished something great with their life. And today, I'm going to share some of those things with you. One of the popular ideas behind greatness is that to be great, your name is supposed to be remembered for generations to come. One of the people that believed this was Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln, during a really low part of his life, this is right after he lost his first bid for a presidential election, wrote in his journal that he was this close to taking his life. He was very close to suicide. The reason he didn't do it, he says, is because up to that point, he didn't feel he accomplished anything noteworthy enough to be remembered for it. So he decided to keep going so that he could do something great. Now, whether Abraham Lincoln accomplished something great is not up for contest. His name is remembered by millions of people. He loosed the bands of bondage for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And anybody you know knows who Abraham Lincoln is. In fact, just 50 years after his death, there's a well-known American author who, while traveling through the Americas, met with an Indian tribe, and they were swapping stories about their people. At the end of it, the tribe said, "Can you please tell us about the great leader, Abraham Lincoln?" So he did. He told them the story. And at the end, they were so thankful that they gave them a prized horse for that story. As he was leaving, he handed them a picture of Abraham Lincoln. He thought they might enjoy this. When they grabbed it, they were shaking and crying because they finally got to see the image of the great leader. Somebody else who had the same sentiment was George Washington. Now, at the beginning of what became the Revolutionary War, George Washington had it all. He had this big, beautiful mansion. He had acres and acres of orchards. He had an awesome family. And he was one of the wealthiest people in America. But when he was called on to sacrifice all of that, to lead a group of ragtag men against the most powerful force in the world at that time, military-wise, he did it without much of a second thought. And he did it partly because he wanted to be remembered for something greater than what he was at that time. And today, America stands as his monument of greatness. Now, there's another thought process, that to be truly great, you need to get rid of yourself. We can look at Mother Teresa for this. Somebody who had very little but gave everything she had plus more. And the lives of millions of people have been blessed because of that and continue to be blessed because of her example. In an interview one time, the reporter felt it necessary to point out that one person really can't do that much, so why are you working so hard? She was quoted as saying, "Sometimes we feel like one drop in the ocean, but the ocean would be less without that one drop." She was following the example of Christ, who of course is our greatest example of giving of himself. His whole life he served other people. And then in the end he gave his life for the people that he loved. He was truly a great man. Now I want to tell you about one more person. Now this person you have not read about in history books. You've probably never even heard of them except through me. But this person is paramount as my example of greatness. Her name is Christy Inman. She happens to be my mom. She was born with a passion for rodeo. In fact, she could ride a horse before she could walk, which is rare to be able to say that. She was voted in as rodeo queen and then quickly began breaking records in her favorite sport, which is barrel racing. She was incredible. She had the makings to become one of the greatest athletes in that area of sport. However, if you go home today and you get on Google and you type in records in barrel racing, she's not going to be on there. She's not going to be anywhere on there. And that's because she decided that her calling to be a mother was more important to her than her passion for rodeo. And she gave it up. It's been years since she's even owned a horse. And I thank God for that every day. Because I'm proud of who I am, of who I've become. And a lot of who I've become is because I had such an incredible mother who showed me what greatness was. Now, what ties all of this together? What does Abraham Lincoln, Mother Teresa, and my mom all have in common? I propose today that greatness, the key to greatness, is one thing. And I steal it from my favorite church hymn. It is to do what is right and to let the consequences follow. Every one of my great heroes throughout history have done this. Despite the consequences, sometimes for the consequences, they did what was right. And those consequences have been far-reaching and incredible. I think every one of you, my fellow Toastmasters, has the makings of greatness. You have what it takes to change the world. I don't know if that is going to take the face of being a president of the United States, of possibly opening hospitals in another country, or of raising a good family. I don't care for that matter. It's none of my business what is going to make you great. But if you're going to remember one thing from today's speech, and I hope you do, it is to be great by doing what is right and letting the consequences follow.